Okay, welcome to meditation training. Yeah, you've missed nothing so far because everything I've said, we're going to redo again, I think. Hi, Sarah, by the way, and special hello to Kelly too because we missed you last week. All right, so we're going to start with a little meditation, okay? So sit up tall. Feel free to close your eyes, or you can let your eyes be at a soft gaze. The eyelids gently relaxing down. If the eyes stay open, I want you to focus on something softly and consistently or continuously. Notice your breath. Notice if you are quite ready to settle into your body. Take a moment to commend and commence the meditation by simply stating to yourself, I am beginning the meditation practice with an open heart and a clear mind. And from this state, also ask your body to relax a little bit deeper. Let all of the involuntary processes of the body be trusted so that the breath, the circulation, all of those systems, they can serve the body here for this time so that you can put all of your attention deeper and deeper inward to the internal world. Trusting that you are in a safe space to not have to put energy towards paying attention to the body. We can start to work with the mind. So the body is relaxing deeper with each breath, and the breath is moving in and out with ease. Any of the senses that might be calling attention to you, whether it be the sense of sound or even the sense of the mind, just make a pact with those senses that right now you'd rather turn inward towards the more subtle stimulus, receiving information from within rather than from without. Take just a few moments here to resonate with this peaceful abiding, this silent stillness. This is resting in awareness. When you become able to find that simple state of awakeness or awareness, it is a restful process. See if you can feel that. And now from this reading, let the words just kind of pass over the mind without focusing too hard. If you get snagged on a word or a meaning, just let it go. Just let this wash over you here now. Remember the clear light, the pure, clear, white light from which everything in the universe comes, to which everything in the universe returns, the original nature of your own mind, the natural state of the universe unmanifest. Let go into the clear light. Trust it. Merge with it. It is your own true nature, It is home. The visions you experience exist within your consciousness. The forms they take are determined by your past attachments, your past desires, your past fears, your past karma. These visions have no reality outside your consciousness. No matter how frightening some of them may seem, they cannot hurt you. Just let them pass through your consciousness, as they will all pass in time. No need to become involved with them, no need to become attracted to the beautiful visions. No need to be repulsed by the frightening ones. No need to be seduced or excited by the sexual ones. No need to be attached to them at all. Just let them pass. If you become involved with these visions, you may wander for a long time confused. Just let them pass through your consciousness, like clouds passing through an empty sky. Remember the clear light, the pure, bright, shining white light of your own nature. It is deathless. It is deathless. If you can look into the visions, you can experience and recognize that they are composed of the same pure, clear white light as everything else in the universe. No matter where or how far you wander, the light is only a split second, a half a breath away. It is never too late to recognize the clear light. Take a breath in. You can let your head drop and then open your eyes. Rub your palms together, just bring some stimulation back into the body, kind of wake you up for the next little bit of time so we can share from our best selves. I was mistaken. I kind of was on my heels there a little bit because the section from the Tibetan Book of the Great Liberation was not the one I wanted to read. So just so you know, I need to adjust your expectations if you ever want to look at that. That was from the Tibetan Book of the Dead proper, and that was adapted from a translation by the same gentleman, W.Y. Evans Wentz. So anywho, that's where we're at tonight. We're going to do a check-in, and I would just like to kind of couch that and create a context for it based off of how far we've come, because and then give you maybe a little insight into tonight, because tonight in a lot of ways ends the journey. So you're not going to be learning anything that you'll use directly in the future. I mean, we're going to have some new concepts to share with you tonight, but they're kind of like pie in the sky, big highfalutin concepts that aren't like the kind of things that, you know, maybe most of us will even experience in this lifetime. But I think they're a good thought experiment, and at the very least, and I think that they also can inspire some desire and appetite for these higher states of consciousness that we're tapping into. So look at where we have come from, people. I mean, goodness gracious. Week 1, we worked with pranayama and pratyahara as an awakening practice using open monitoring as the style of meditation. And really, we were trying to hone in on tapping into the benefits of self-accountability, your own truth, and equanimity, an ability to find equanimity within all that. Week 2, dharana, that is concentration. That is the proper definition. That was being used as a mindfulness practice. And that one we use more of a focused meditation rather than just I'm going to sit and see what comes up. This was using drishti, mudra, all these other aspects of things to create benefits of peacefulness, self-reliance, and a familiarity with the unfamiliarity of time, if that makes sense. Remember, we talked a lot about time, how we most of the times live in the past and the future, and how meditation, when we drop into certain types of meditation, it allows us to experience what is often referred to as the gap, which is liminal space of time, where time does not appear to act according to its natural order. We also talked about the Four Noble Truths that week. We very barely touched on the Eightfold Path, which is known as the Dharma or the Way. And we kind of came back to that on week 3. In week 3, we offered you up a meditation practice that tried to impart an equal balance of compassion and wisdom via using practical techniques of open mind simultaneously while focusing the mind. And you had a couple different meditations to use for that over this last week. You had 3 different ones. So let's just begin the check-in right there and let us know how it went for you this last week. I think that last week's, actually every check-in we've had has been, I think, the foundational learning tool for us. So I just want to set the stage with, it's been fantastic to have everybody to be just so willing and vulnerable to share so bravely your truths and your failures and successes. My big takeaway from last week was that, boy, from my perspective, like a lot of you, I don't see you for a week, and then I see you here. And the change that I have seen in all of you in 3 weeks, Chris and I were talking about this. The interesting thing from the check-in last week was almost everybody had completely different results about how the practice was going. Some people were like, yeah, I'm hitting the mat hitting the cushion every day. Some people are like, no, it's intermittent. Some people are like, I'm totally failing. But here's the thing, the practice isn't what matters. The fact that you have all changed lets me know, and I'm seeing it. You may not see it because it's happening maybe one blade of grass at a time, right? But I can tell you, when I only see you once a week, it's absolutely obvious. And that tells me that the questions you're asking, paired with the intention that was the very, inspiration for you to be here in the first place, it is working. And that's the funky stuff about all this meditation and yoga stuff, is like, we get this idea in our head sometimes that for the practice to work, it has to look like it does on the cover of Yoga Journal, right? Or it has to work as in a way where we can go brag about it and virtue signal how good of a meditator we are. For it to work, sometimes all it takes is for you to wrestle with it. And by the way, sometimes you lose when you wrestle with it. You may lose with the wrestling with the practice. That doesn't mean you're not getting benefits, okay? So I just want to commend you all, because I have seen a change. And so that's the tipping point. How's the week gone? And have you noticed a change in yourself? So tell me about it. Who would like to start? Oh, and Sarah, by the way, would you introduce yourself too? Because welcome. This is your first night with us. Have you watched the videos and such? There you go.
Okay. Can y'all hear me? Okay. Well, hello. My name is Sarah. Sorry for my lateness on the weekly basis and the nightly basis. I thought I was all set up, and I was set up for Kristen's 4 o'clock meditation on a different Wednesday. To introduce myself and kind of go to a quick week 1 throwdown. I intended on doing this meditation course on my own time, and that's what I've done pretty much. I have dabbled with meditation pretty crudely and probably with like mediocre effort. Sometimes it's stronger than others, usually when I'm in more need of it. Let's see. So Yeah. What led me to want to join the class was I was in need, once again, of emotional stability. I have had issues with like anger and rage in my past and haven't had those feelings rise up in probably over at least 13, 14 years. And the types of meditations I've dabbled in were kind of at first out of necessity for survival. I was on a pretty destructive path for a lot of years there. I'm an addict in recovery. And so I'm in my 13th year right now. And, somewhere along the way, it shifted from, these tools we use, meditation is just one of them. And it starts from being in enough pain to want change for me, but then transformed finally into, wanting just to live well. And so over the years, I would say the most recent form of meditation that really got me is the moving meditation, yoga, learning how to breathe through postures. I think with the pranayama breath, that came somewhat natural to me because I got hooked on the incline, and I would do it at best maybe 3 times a week and just go to the halfway point after work. When I work a short morning, my office is kind of close to it. And the only way I can make it and survive it, and I found a rhythm, is to follow the breath and to breathe in a rhythmic way where my body is moving with the breath. And it's at, I would say, the max capacity of what I can push myself to do, but it's at a sustainable level. And so there was something real sweet about that I loved and kind of got hooked on. And I noticed when I'd walk down Bar Trail, like that these are the thoughts I need to follow through with, right? And those ideas and moments of inspiration, and it's truth coming out, not my head. They're good and they're great and they're light, but then it comes to putting it into practice, which becomes a little more heavy in this physical. And so the first week and a half, I think I spent on pranayama, it felt like it came pretty natural. Week 2, and I did it every morning. And that's what's good about this too. It got me in that routine again. It got me willing to get up early when I have to work early. And it definitely made my mornings throughout the day much sweeter. I think I heard somebody talking about enjoying their coffee more. I'd go out, water the garden and water my flowers and get the linen from the laundry into the bag. And it's usually just kind of like a aggressive, let's get it done, let's move on, get into the car, get to work. But things started to just become more flowy, watery, and soft, because you were talking about that constricted state versus the open. And I can tell the difference between the two. So anyway, that was week 1. Week 2, with the focus and concentration, I noticed at first it was harder to hold my eyes open. I think it was just because it was a new thing. And once I fell into that rhythm, that became easier. So just like practice new things and they become more natural. I noticed the flow of my breath going from jerky and kind of forceful to easier. And I hear water with that Ujjayi breath. To me, it's very wavy. Mm-hmm. The sound of the so hum, never would have consciously heard that, I don't think, but once you said it, it's there, and that's helpful. So I just watched week 3 today, and just to let y'all know, I followed through. And week 1, I thought right after listening to everybody share, I said, oh man, I'm going to have to do this too. I can see why it's important. And then, I don't think it was till week 2. Week 1, I kind of thought, well, I guess I didn't realize the value of the community part of this, and why I didn't, I don't know. I should have. This is Cambio. So the second week is when I said, okay, you guys' shares, I just want to thank you for those. And if anything, I just wanted to show up tonight to say thank you, show my face, say I've been following you guys, I've been feeding off your energy. And I really appreciate the honesty and humility, and y'all kind of humbled me into submission because I really didn't want to do this either. I was like, I'm just going to do this on my own, but I at least wanted to say hello and thank you, and for starting me on a new shift and a new discipline and a new commitment, and kind of revitalizing what I've dabbled with before, but now I can tell it's on a new trajectory and in much needed times. So glad to be here. Thanks for letting me bomb in on the last week. That's all.
Oh, absolutely. I can definitely speak for all of us when I say thank you, and that was very sweet of you to say that. And that actually, I think that is, to me, it fills me with those warm fuzzies to know that, like, when we are willing and brave enough to be vulnerable, it has that effect even on people who may be seeing it from the outside, So I hope I speak for everybody by saying, thank you for saying that, because it's validating, because that's a big part of this work. Like I said, from week 1, meditation, if you don't check your BS at the door, it's going to be real miserable. Hi, Katie. I'm so sorry. I just saw your email and I got you. I'm so glad that worked. Okay, cool. You have missed a meditation. You'll go back and watch that. It was like 10 minutes. And when you just missed one check-in, Sarah, who couldn't be here the first 3 weeks, just kind of let us know how it's been going for her. And so whoever would like to go next, Jen Barks, please.
It's just everything like Sarah was saying and Austin was saying. I mean, there were so many things that were resonating with me. I wish I had been writing things down, but I wasn't. I was trying to be present and listen to Sarah and not be thinking about, whoa, I get that and that. So I have stayed dedicated, twice a day, in the morning and at night. Doesn't mean every single meditation practice has been like the most perfect one of my life, but I've stuck with it. And my biggest takeaway is that I personally need this. I need this like air, and I have to make sure I stick with it. As most of you know, I've mentioned, I work out really early in the morning, and I love working out in the morning. And since COVID-19 started, I started getting back into more of my asana practice. And so now I'm staggering every day, and it's like for me, it's like the dessert. Like, I'm like, I can't wait to finish the workout still so that I can get to the meditation. I can't wait to finish the yoga so I can just get to the meditation part. And I'm just really, I don't know. It's just, something different this time around shifted for me. I shared in week 2, and I've still been exploring it mentally, is this whole idea of time. I've had a lot of success in my life that I've worked my ass off for. And I shared this in the mantra group. Like, I never realized, but the reason I work my ass off so much and work so hard to do all these things and get all these things and accomplish all these things is because I never feel like there's enough time. Like, I feel like I'm constantly racing through life. And so people are always like, oh my God, she's doing this now, and she's doing this and this and this. And I realized the momentum for that comes from the fact, like, I don't ever slow down, and I just don't feel like I can slow down. And it's just been like, and I'm still trying to figure out how I do that at work. I spend pretty much 9 hours a day on Zoom, and I'm trying to, and then people will call me in between and try to like get my time. So I'm trying to figure out how to juggle that with work. But in my personal life, like, I mean, I don't know if you guys are familiar with K'NEX. It's like this little, it's like Tinker Toys. I used to build stuff for hours. I literally spent 5 hours this past weekend working on a robot. And then the weekend before, like, spent 5 hours building a dragon. I don't do that kind of stuff. I'm constantly like, what's next? What do we got to go to? What's the next appointment? What's the next errand? So it's just, that's the whole thing that's really changed for me, is just like, what am I racing towards? Like, why am I trying to get all this done? Because there's an infinite amount of time. And if I want to get it done, it'll get done. Like, I don't have to worry about it. So So that's been really life-changing for me this past 4 weeks. And I just continue to think about it, and I've been exploring it. So I just, I really thank you guys for reminding me about meditation and having this especially on Zoom. I know you're forced to do it from a business perspective right now, but like I mentioned before, I wouldn't be able to do this. I wouldn't be able to go to the 4 o'clock Monday meditation if we didn't have Zoom options. And so, it just, it's kind of forced us to figure out how to do things differently, but I'm just so grateful that this worked out. So, so that's kind of my takeaway. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing. I think it's interesting that we live our life and almost every moment our life is changing, and yet it's only the times when we recognize it that we can really, those are the moments we can find the gratitude and the meaning in it. So, so often our life is changing and we're not aware of how and to what or where to. And it just sounds to me like meditation is giving you, Jen, this time and space to really see a bigger picture of where you want to direct because life is like this ocean liner. You can't just go like, oh, I want to take a sharp right hand turn and everybody, the thing would just go. You've got to make these small, slow series of shifts in degrees, but they are life changing. Yeah.
Good analogy. I like that, Austin.
Yeah. Well, thanks. It's not mine.
Oh, okay.
Cheryl. I got that from Obama, at the risk of being divisive. Okay, Cheryl, go ahead.
Mimi, can I go next? Because I'm
Yes,
sitting
please.
outside and my air conditioner just quit roaring in the background.
Ah, yes. Take it away.
Yeah. I love how you said, Austin, at the beginning, that perfectly summed up. I have been wrestling with the practice. However, it's been this weird sensation for about the past week and a half. I was just thinking a minute ago, it's like almost living in a comic book. I feel like I walk around the corner and there's this neon sign with a new perspective or an aha moment, kind of, oh, well, isn't that interesting? Huh, why was that such a big deal? Huh, it's just been a weird kind of opening, and that's the only way I know to put it. There's been a lot of shifts in perspective that have made my life significantly more pleasant and less a pain in the patootie. See, I was politically correct. I didn't know if there was any children here, because I didn't want to use big people. A pain in the sits bones, a much smaller pain in the sits bones. But having said that, I have been wrestling with the practice. But the practice is still working, even though some days it's like wrestling with a greased pig. It's still, I get dirty, the pig enjoys it, we're done. All right, that's it. Love ya.
Nice. Yeah. Very good. I mean, the key isn't to beat the practice in submission. The key is to just always stay in conversation with it. Sometimes the conversation can be, we're going to take a break for a while, but as long as you don't, the only mistake you can ever honestly make is if it leaves your heart entirely. I think that is, in a weird way, giving up on the practice entirely is like giving up on yourself. So wrestling with it, all good. Yeah. Who would like to go next, please? Erica? All right.
Oh, hi. Hang on, let me. Okay, I'm not used to talking with earbuds in. Yeah, it was really hard not to feel at certain times this week like I was failing. But I like just yes to everything that everybody else has said, basically. I definitely saw a lot of, I'm seeing changes in myself, and it's just kind of surreal. Yeah, I have so many thoughts that have popped up, and now I'm just kind of drawing a blank. But but I just feel like, you know, I mean, even at the start of this, I was having these anxiety attacks that were just like unlike any anxiety that I've had before. And even today, there were some moments where like I saw the opening for it. I was like, this is usually the thing that triggers me. And I just kind of like observed it and watched it go by. And I was like, hey, all right, I see you. But like, I'm not going to like engage with you. And so I'm finding that even when like, you know, I'm wrestling with the practice, and there were probably more days this week where I took that option of just sitting for 1 minute instead of my whole time. But then it usually led to more because I was like, oh, once I'm here, it's not so horrible. But I'm really seeing all those changes outside of it as well. So yeah, I'm real content about it. Oh, and there was something I wanted to say. So sorry, I'm looking, okay, at this journal question. What was your main motivation at this point to keep your practice and endeavor to deepen it? And at the beginning, mine was to just be a better person. And I feel like you all have exemplified that for me so much. So thank you for holding me accountable because I need it very much.
Well, thanks for being a part of it. And yeah, I think we all are better people for this, aren't we? Right? I mean, really, it's funny because you kind of can ask yourself, well, it gets a slippery slope when you start asking yourself what qualifies you as a better or worse person. But one thing you can be rest assured with is that, you know, if you look back at something and you learned something and there was meaning in it, it was worthwhile. You know, those are the kind of things you can't really ask for much more out of, because there's no guarantee or promise that you're going to learn anything in life. And that's, you know, I'm at the age where I've stopped growing, at least this way. I'm growing probably a little bit this way still because of my wife's cooking, but inside, you know, the way we keep growing is to never stop learning. Pablo Casals was a famous cello player. And he had a famous saying that said, it was something that music has kept him young all of his life. And that just always stuck with me because music is something that keeps you curious. And when you're learning, when you're in that curiosity, and we talked about this last week, I remember Sam brought up, she said, what's the opposite of responding? And Samantha said curious, and I really liked that. But I think that's what Pablo was talking about with that, staying young all your life. And we can, you know, it's not a matter of the right skin creams and, you know, not enjoying a glass of wine or whatever it is that you enjoy. It's about, as cliche as it sounds, staying curious and making sure that you're learning those lessons. Okay, who would like to go next? And you are Erica, by the way. I see you. Olivia, thank you. Go ahead, right ahead.
I have been keeping with, you know, the practice. I find that meditating in the morning is the best for me. When I came here, my response, you know, to why are you here initially was to find clarity. And I think today I have gotten perspective out of my practice. I see that I see the layers in myself kind of emerge a little bit more, and how I'm situated in my life internally and then externally. So it's been kind of interesting, and that's probably really cryptic, and I'm sorry, but it's been interesting for me to watch and kind of difficult to watch. I've had to kind of let go of some things that didn't really serve me. Been grappling a lot with the locks and the keys because of this current state that the world is in. Trying to find, you know, loving kindness, compassion, and joy where it needs to be, and replacing some of the things that don't serve me. At the risk of sounding completely crazy, I've started to personify my inner thoughts. So I like kind of give it a name, and that person is like a little bit different from me and somebody I can kind of reject. And maybe that's just kind of crazy, but it's something that I found through this practice, showing up here for the past 4 times, and yeah, it sounds kind of weird to say it out loud, but it's really helped me take it for what it is and then maybe leave it where it needs to be. Watch it go by like the clouds, like we were saying. So that was just a jumbled mess of consciousness. So
No, I think that was actually really quite clear and very useful. I mean, that's a big thing we're striving for with all this, is to use the practice to create. I mean, that's what the gap is in a lot of ways. It's not just about time, but it's also the way in which we identify ourselves with things, and to recognize I am not that thing. And even though this thought, whether it be aggressive or violent or sad or whatever it is, if we can label the aspect of it in a way before we get so far inside of it that we don't realize that there's a separation, that's really useful, because then we can start to label things and say, do I want to allow myself to get mixed up in that drama?
yeah.
And if we need to disidentify with it by saying, oh, whatever your alter ego name is, stop it, Liv, or do you have a name for it?
Maybe.
But
yeah.
it's a common practice. I mean, therapists, they use this, but this is meditation practice working in your life. Because essentially what you're saying is you're recognizing the thought before the thought so permeates you that you think that you are the thought.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
it's great.
And I just want to add one thing, Olivia. So you had shared last week that you have a chronic illness, and I do as well. And one of the things like that changed my life years ago as I worked through this, and it's resonating with me. What you're saying is I had to learn to change my thought patterns, and exactly what you're talking about. I had to become an observer of my thoughts, because I didn't really acknowledge how toxic I was talking to myself. And that was what was triggering my illness.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to share that, because that's something I've shared with a lot of people on this crazy journey. But yeah, your thoughts are so powerful with all of that stuff and your physiology and everything else. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? Thank you.
Awesome. Yeah. I don't think anybody could be at the risk of feeling like you're crazy in a meditation training, because that's part of the process, is to kind of look at how crazy we are in all the ways that we think we're sane. Anybody who's ever done a meditation retreat can tell you that. Like, if you do like a 5-day meditation retreat, around 4 a day, you're just like, I am completely insane. Yeah. But there's also, like what we said last week, sometimes you have those breakdowns to break through. So sometimes those limiting beliefs that are put in place to keep you sane are also limiting you and your experience and your potential. So sometimes it may feel crazy to break out of some of those, but again, that's growth. All right. Raise a hand, someone. All right, Peggy.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay. I just wanted to say to everything you guys have been saying has been really neat. I really have enjoyed this, because it's nice to people that I've never even met, but I feel like I know you pretty well in some ways and stuff. And also feel like you're people that I think if I could talk to you face to face, we'd go, yeah, me too. Oh, I know, I feel like that. Yeah, me too. And you think all the time. I don't think most people would get it if I tried to explain to them how I feel or what my problem is. And plus several comments that I got last week on the chats from people really were like, wow, really, you see me that way? Because I don't. And it helped me think maybe I am stronger than I thought or whatever, but that was really neat. And I love what you said, Olivia, about the alter ego. I want to try that. So that just sounds like a really kind of a good way to handle anxiety and OCD, maybe, to kind of just go, now, wait a minute, I know that that's not true, so just leave me alone and shut up, or something. That really was neat. But yeah, that first meditation we did last week, I really, really liked. That is one I really like to do a lot. So, but just thank you, everybody. I hope we can keep this going.
Well, thank you, Peggy. You're just sweet as can be. I'll tell you what. And you are. I mean, you better believe all those things people wrote. It was, I mean, if you inspire people to say stuff like that, it's not, been doing this long enough. People won't say things unless they think it's true or believe it to be true. And so sometimes it takes allowing others to see the truth for us to see our own truth. So it's been a real treat to have you.
Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Who would like to go next? Jen Carlson.
All right. For me, so I am still very much wrestling with the actual practice. I've been trying different things. I found some things that work, and then I abandon them, and then I come back to them. So I think this for me has really been just an opening of another door in a way for, I think I mentioned the first week, I've been on this path of self-discovery, self-exploration, and this is another way for me to deepen that and strengthen that. To me, it's been really interesting that just over the last 6 months or so, I feel like there's certain themes that have come into my life, whether it's a word, whether it's a concept, that have played huge parts in everything that everyone has said here too, like vulnerability, curiosity, finding that calm place, that self-discovery and all that. And those have all been themes that I've been seeing in different places. So I definitely have that feeling that, the universe is trying to direct me a certain way. And everything that I'm doing is just another step on that path to wherever this is leading. So that's been really interesting to me. And I know this is for me just the beginning of continuing this practice, even if it's messy, even if it's imperfect, and that's okay. And I think for me, letting go of that, this has to be perfect, I have to be 100% on it, has been a big piece over these last few weeks, where it's like, I think Austin, it may have been you saying, even when we're wrestling with it, we're still, as long as we're still learning something from that. And I think that's my takeaway, is like, even when I'm not perfect, it's still doing something for me, even that recognition. I think one of the things that Sarah shared, and then Peggy, something you just said made me think of this too, is I think one of the things that's been so great over the past few weeks is because we've all been able to share our stories, and we've all been vulnerable, and we've all been, honest with complete strangers for a lot of us. I think it just reinforces that shared human experience as well for me, that, even though we are different, even though our life circumstances are different, there's some kernel in each person that we can relate to and go, oh yeah, me too. Or yeah, I've thought that too, or I felt that too. And I love seeing that because, especially with everything that's been going on, it's so easy to be divisive and to look at us versus them or whatever the situation is. But then to see in these like connected moments that, we can identify with each other and we can have that shared humanity. And to me, that's really inspiring, with everything that's going on, is that there is this goodness and this kindness, and, people are genuinely good. And that's something that I want to take away from this as well.
Oh, you said so many good things. First of all, you said that your practice is still below your wishes, but the way that you said it this time was so different than the way you said it week 2. You've changed your language around that. Your relationship to that is so much softer and so much kinder towards yourself. You also made me think of this metaphor around ice melting. So somebody, I don't remember, a teacher in college might have told me this metaphor. I don't know who originally came up with this one, but you know, a lot of times we don't think things are changing until we see it on the outside. But here's an interesting thing. If you think about an ice cube that's in 20-degree weather, right? Well, we know that ice cube isn't going to melt till it gets above 32 degrees. So we'd start to change the temperature 21 degrees, 22 degrees, 23 degrees. Well, we have 3 degrees of change there already. You know, we're 1/4 of the way to seeing physical change, but we don't see it. It doesn't mean things aren't changing. And so that's the whole thing about this, is we have to remember that on the surface of things, we may not be seeing the change that we had wished or hoped, but it doesn't mean that big shifts aren't happening under the surface that we're not yet aware of. And yeah, and lastly, I think what you said right now too is that it is really difficult based off of so much of the cultural zeitgeist out there right now to remember that, yeah, people are good and people are, oh yeah, and we're in this together. There's no, you know, we're all on planet Earth together and we're all humans. Erica and I were talking about birds yesterday, and I thought about this idea of how, like, you know, no species loves other species the way humans do. On one hand, no species can be as destructive to other species as humans can, but at the same token, no species would and can do what they can for other species. I think that's pretty amazing virtue that humans are distinct and unique of and for. So thank you, Jen. It's been a pleasure to have you too. Peggy? She's fired up. She's got to share something. Please do.
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I meant to say that too, what Jen was talking about. This has helped me so much in the last week or two, especially with everything that's going on. And like, not to get political, but the last 3.5 years, I've wanted to put my fist through a wall so many times. And this week and the last few days has been even way worse. And I'm just seeing this humanity and knowing that people really are better than it seems like they are most of the time is really good. So thank you for that.
Thanks for sharing that, Peggy.
Yeah. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you did jump on that. Yeah, we're all pretty soft on the outside, aren't we? The skin stuff is pretty soft. Okay, who would like to go next? Okay, Katie, yay.
Well, this week, like everyone, it's been a difficult week with everything that's going on in the environment, and I've struggled with it in meditation a lot. So I meditate in the morning, and then I meditate longer in the morning, and then I meditate in the evening just for the 5 minutes. And the 5 minutes in the evening have been lovely. It's been so helpful. The morning, I'm still struggling a little bit, and I think it's a reflection of just what's going on around me, because I struggle with anxiety anyway, and then this has kind of put the anxiety on steroids. So I took it outside, and I went, and you guys might be really interested in this place. It's on 105 and Walsenburger, and it's one of those, I don't know what you call it, like you walk around and you meditate. What do you call those?
Like a walking meditation garden, maybe?
A labyrinth.
Yeah, like a walking meditation garden, yeah. And it's right there on the corner of 105 and Walsenburger. And so it's worth the little trip down there, and there's nobody there. It's really quiet. And I've gone down there twice, and that's been super helpful for me, because I've been able to like get physical but still do my meditation. And then also I ride horses. So on the back of a horse, if you're stressed, it's not the place you want to be if you're stressed, because you don't stay on the back of a horse very long if you're really stressed, because they don't want you there. So that has forced me to okay, I can instantly feel the way my horse reacts that I'm stressed. I'm anxious, I guess is the better word, anxious. And then I use some of the meditation to kind of bring me down, and I can actually feel my horse relaxing right under my saddle, under my fanny, which is just a lovely feeling, because I'm not just affecting myself, but I'm affecting this 1,000-pound animal that I help relax at the same time. So it's been an interesting week, I think, mainly because of everything that's going on. It's been a challenge for everyone, and I certainly don't want to complain, because I'm coming from a situation where it doesn't affect me directly, I guess. I can walk away from it or turn it off, or I don't know if that's the right word, but I don't live with it every day and day in and day out, but it's still heartbreaking to see it all happening in our, but it's definitely, the meditation has definitely helped this week. But like I said, I took it outside during the day, and that was really helpful for me.
Awesome. Yeah, I love what you said there, Katie. I think that's a big key to all of whatever it is that, if we're going back to this premise that on one respect, meditation is a way that we train the mind to create certain benefits, to create certain results, then yeah, there's definitely certain stimulus that we have to be judicious about. And if we have the power to turn that off, I mean, you're lucky because, or you may be lucky, not you, but I mean, you as in the just hypothetical you, a person might be lucky because they're able to turn it off by not looking at their phone per se, or whatever it might be. But as we all know, some things you see and you can't unsee, and it's a matter of being able to turn it off and hear. And that's where, to me, a huge saving grace in my life has been finding the Serenity Prayer, because I have always had this weird guilt around, well, I have no right to not worry about this, right? I spent a lot of time in my life thinking I have no right to not worry about this. But the Serenity Prayer really brings things clear of the things that you can't do anything about. If you can't do anything about it, don't guilt yourself into worrying about it, And if you can, then do that thing. And it's likely going to take courage and a lot more, but knowing the difference is definitely something that we can start to train our mind. That's one of the massive goals of yoga, is to create proper discrimination, to really know the difference of things in life. What makes the difference? So you bring up a really, really compelling question. Okay, thank you. Who would like to go next? Angie.
Hey guys, happy Tuesday. This week I did a lot of work with, like what everybody else was talking about, of quality of thought, awareness. I spent a lot of time thinking about the gap, and I listened to Eckhart Tolle. Am I saying that right? I love this book. It's called The Power of Now. Again, kind of going back into being conscious of now, of this moment. And so a lot of work coming into that this week. But I also have been feeling still pretty settled and pretty grounded lately. And so this week in my meditations, in light of the world and the things that are going on and everything, I approached it with a different take. And in my meditations this week, I only thought of other people. So in my meditations, we did this in the chanting group, which the chanting is, I love the chanting, but in looking at my thoughts and in trying to be the observer and trying to be the person who watches my emotions go on in front of me, I found that when I meditate about someone else, and I meditate about, a group or a person or somebody I don't even know, my emotional investment was so deep. It was most of the time while I was in the trance, you know, in the pocket is what I call it, when, you know, you're just sitting right there in that mental state, and it's my favorite place, but tears would just be rolling down my face the entire time uncontrollably. And as I'm in the pocket and I'm looking at myself as the person watching this happen, I was, you know, found how when I do turn my thoughts towards compassion and empathy, how easy it is for me to give myself away to love for others, and how, you know, empathetic I really am, in that it is also a weight which I've borne for many years and glad to do it. But then I compared that kind of to when I think about meditating and I'm thinking about myself, and I'm thinking about going in and looking inside of myself, trying to connect to a source energy, trying to connect to being timeless, bodiless, that sort of thing. And I was like, man, I don't have that emotional investment when I'm thinking about myself. So I also kind of had to have a come to Jesus meeting with myself about, you know, am I really giving myself self-care? Am I really giving myself the quality of love that I find it so easy to, you know, wrap my whole being around when it comes to somebody else, and especially somebody who's, you know, in a bad way, abuse, or, you know, anything like that is very sensitive to me. So it's been very interesting as I've been trying to practice in my waking life, in my everyday moments, to stay in that gap and in that moment and be present and continue to listen to things and music and things like that that kind of bring me into that awareness and being more focused on what I'm aware of, what my thoughts are. But also it was kind of crazy to look at myself as the witness and be like, wow, well, you know, when the state of the world goes to hell, you know, I'm right there. But when it comes to myself, I judge myself so damn much, you know. And so that was very interesting takeaway from my week's meditations also. But yeah, so that was my week, and what I learned this week, and my takeaway, you know, from the group is I think I kind of fulfilled the expectations or thoughts that I had about coming in. I've been practicing for a while, so it's not really the time or getting into the routine of meditating, but it was really trying to get into that deeper zone of how can I make my meditation work for me. You know, when I came in at the beginning, I was like, I want to manifest stuff, you know, and at the end I was just like, man, I just want to cry for the person sitting next to me, or, you know, I just want to give love and empathy to someone else right now. And it is a richer feeling than what I came in with.
I love that.
That's my takeaway.
It's like goosebumps listening to all of that, by the way.
Oh.
It's really moving. Thank you for sharing that.
Welcome. Thank you all.
Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what I was trying to get at with my point last week, that I'm not sure I successfully landed or not, but the idea of this concept that meditation is a grown-up practice, whereas yoga is, you know, yoga is a little bit more accessible to anybody. You know, you can give it to kids, you can give it to anybody. Meditation is a grown-up practice because there's a pre-qualification of a certain maturity level that you have to be past that threshold for it to really start to fire off on all cylinders like that. And what I said last week about it was that one of the things that deems it a mature practice or grown-up practice is because it's not about you. And, you know, those kind of self-focused ideals and expectations and desires that we have that may start us on the track of meditation, if you stay sincere with your endeavor in meditation, those will quickly peel away, because what will be revealed to you is something so much deeper, so much richer, just like you said, Angie. The compassion that you're talking about, the wisdom that you're talking about, that's everything, Kristen mentioned last week that we were trying to get across with the technique this week and the exercise this week was to broaden the sense of compassion and wisdom. And it's such a delight to see you blossom into that zone. Like I said, having known you for so long and knowing that that seed was always there, doesn't it blow your mind that an oak tree comes from a seed, but you're growing oak trees from compassion and wisdom. Self-directed desires don't grow oak trees because you don't grow oak trees from self-directed desire. So you're getting it. I mean, you're teaching us. You're kind of like out there in the far field of what is possible and capable in meditation. And so it's inspiring. It's wonderful. Goosebumps appropriate. Okay. Then there were three. Okay. Kelly, pop on in.
All right. So I think I remember telling you guys all at the beginning that this was kind of more of a curiosity thing for me than really having any expectations or specific expectations for it. I've talked before about how I find meditation kind of hard because I get very antsy as soon as I start doing it. And I think a lot of it has to do with the posture and the breath and that kind of thing. And 2 weeks ago, last time I was in the meeting, a few people talked about how it really helps to do meditation right after working out or right after a yoga practice. And I think that resonated with me. I think that would help because Shavasana at the end of a yoga practice is awesome for me. And I've never really had that antsy feeling then at all. So I had every intention of doing meditation as soon as I finished a yoga practice, and I've been totally slacking with yoga. So that hasn't really happened. But I will say, I also went to a physical therapy appointment, and my physical therapist, he goes to Cambio too. So I was talking to him about this class and how I'm doing it and how I'm struggling with it and everything. And he was saying that not wanting to do meditation because it makes you antsy or something is not wanting to, or thinking that you're not a runner because you get out of breath when you run. So, that kind of hit home for me. I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, I definitely need to give it more of a shot and more of a chance and actually stay. I mean, with yoga, you need to stay with that in order to actually benefit from it. With any exercise or any type of thing like that, you have to stay with it and commit to it. So that kind of made me realize that I need to get better about make it intentionally trying it, and even when I'm uncomfortable, still pushing through it sometimes, or finding a way of making it more comfortable for me so that it becomes easier, I guess. So yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Kristen, do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's really just exactly like you just said. It's, the more you do it, the more you develop that muscle memory. And, there very well could be something underlying the reason why you get antsy and you don't want to do it, right? Last week I shared that, I was very resistant to the meditation, right? And that happens. I go in these cycles and these waves, as I'm sure all of you are going to discover the longer you do this, where, there's something there's something that's rubbing that needs to express itself, but maybe you're just not ready for that to happen yet, So be gentle with yourself and just keep doing it, even if it's little drips, 5 minutes, sit and breathe, right? 5 minutes, sit and breathe, 5 minutes, sit and breathe. And you keep doing that. Eventually the muscle memory starts to pick up and it becomes less and less daunting. When you, just like the analogy you gave with the running, right? If you have never run before and you're like, that's it, next week I'm going to sign up and do a marathon. Well, that's like super, super daunting. So you got to take it in little chunks as much as you can. But you'll get there. Just stay with it. That's all I got.
Cool. Thank you. Great. That was beautiful. All right, Sam's. It's a Sam showdown. It's a Sam holdout. Which Sam is going to crack? Who wants to go last? Oh, Gullah just pointed at you, Stang. You're up. Oh. Oh, I can't hear nobody. There you go.
Okay, there we go. It's been interesting doing this meditation group, and it's hard to believe 4 weeks have gone, because it seems like 4 weeks should be long, and it's not. Not that it's been an easy thing, but I think for me, the meditation has been like the power of the single drop. You know, the single drop of water changes the rock after time. And this time around doing the meditation, it's been a steady stream. So that's been kind of nice to just go with the flow of it and not try to block it up and dam it and, you know, make it be X, Y, and Z. Something that happened this past week was where it was a total donkey's rear end, and this meditation has allowed me to be the observer in the sense of I could step back and I could see that I fell into a samskara because the situation presented itself, but I totally went with it. I was in that rut and couldn't get out until later. But it was later, then it was like, oh, well, this sense why I felt that way and why I reacted that way. And it wasn't judgmental. It was just like, oh, the curious bit as opposed to being reactive. But I had to be reactive to get curious. One of what Erica brought up about the whole intention of why doing the meditation. For me in the beginning, it was strength of character to be authentic. And this past week, when I taught, I had the theme of the reason that you come to your mat. What is it? And then to go into the thoughts that behind the reason of why you come to your mat, or in this case, the meditation cushion. And behind the thought was the feelings. And within the feelings of why you come to your meditation and mat was this spark of hope. And often in our reason, we want to be something as if we're not already it. Except that in that spark of hope, you're already it, whatever it might be. But it's that slowly peeling the layers back to see that you are it. And with this past week especially, it is that I am authentic. I want to cry. It's really hard to say that because I don't totally believe it. But if the hope is within me to be it, then I'm already it. I just have to have the space to see that I'm already it. And so this has been a wonderful journey for me, and I've enjoyed sharing each and every moment and each and every struggle that each and every one of us have had, because we're in this together. And just to finish it out, you are it. You are that hope of spark within you. So thank you, everybody.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, that's that authentic piece, Sam. Nobody's more you than you, as Dr. Seuss would say. You are the most you could be. I find it's interesting when we reveal sometimes our insecurities because, I think Peggy was saying that earlier. Like, she's like, I can't believe some of the things people were saying, but it's surprising to hear you don't feel like you're authentic because you are one of the least pretentious people I've ever met in my entire life. You are absolutely authentic. If there ever was authenticity, boy, you're a true blue. Well, maybe not blue, maybe purple, rose, or chartreuse.
For all the colors.
Maybe, yes. Yeah, Kelly, there it is.
Austin.
There's no one alive who is youer than you. Yeah. Oh man, I love that one. Do you remember which one that's from? I think it's from The Places You'll Go. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, The Place You Go. Okay, Samantha Gullah. Enough holding out. Bring it home strong.
I don't know that I can do that, but I don't know. My internet connection is really bad, so I'm probably going to freeze when I'm making a really weird face, and then I don't know. I don't know what to say. I've been thinking this whole time that I don't know what to say, except Olivia. I totally named my inner mean girl. She's not nice, but yeah, I don't think you're crazy at all for that, because I think that has been one of the biggest things that has helped me in the past few years. I've struggled so much with self-esteem issues for my whole life, and I think I have grown tremendously in the past few years. And I think part of that is because I named the negative self-talk, and I tell her to shut the hell up most of the time, or other words, but my kids are walking in and out. And yeah, I think that has helped me tremendously to just, like Austin was saying, find that distance between the thoughts and knowing that you're not the thoughts, that the thoughts come and go, and that's not who you are. So I also don't feel really free to share everything right now because my kids are walking in and out. But I'm kind of at the point right now. I mean, I love meditation, but I think with the chanting and the meditation and other stuff that I've been working on, I'm ready to not be a grown-up for a few days, I think, because I feel like I've been working and things are happening, and I'm not sure that I really like all of it. I mean, I know I need it and it's good, but no, thank you. You can go back that way. Not right now, okay? You can be my adults. That would be great. But yeah, I feel like I'm doing a lot of hard work, and there's a lot of stuff that's coming up, and I don't like all of that, but I know that, it's just on the surface that I don't like it, but I know down deep it's work that needs to happen, and it's good work that I've been working toward for a long time. So yeah, I think that's all.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's, like I said in the beginning, just so long as, when you put the work down for a while, you keep it somewhere safe, you don't forget it, because it is one of those things. Oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I don't mean that I'm going to put it down and not meditate anymore. I'm just ready for stuff to be a little bit easier. I want it to be a little bit easier, but I don't think I put it in this group. I think I put it in the chanting group. I had this wonderful meditation experience earlier this week, and I thought it was probably a little bit woo-woo, but it was just this great experience. So, in the midst of working on this really deep stuff, I'm having these really incredible experiences mixed in with it. So I'm not going to stop meditating.
Yeah.
I'll keep going.
Yeah. By the way, how long do y'all have left on the mantra? 6 days?
We end this Saturday.
Yeah, this Saturday.
This Saturday you end? Wow, it's all coming to an end
Yeah,
at the same time. I know, wow.
crazy.
Just in time to start teacher training Sunday with Kristen and I. Of course, most of you have already done it, even though some of you would do it again. Erica's like, please. Kristen, how are you? Tell us about, give us a quick check-in. I've talked a lot and I want to hear where you're at.
Give us a check-in. I just love hearing all of your check-ins, and I just, like Austin said, just seeing where you each have grown. And it is kind of like a little snippet of what happens in teacher training. So yeah, it's just been such a treat to get to know you. Like Peggy said, some of you strangers, some of you I've known for years and years. But I really relate to a lot of what you're saying, and know that, I think it's just like a common human theme, right? So yeah, I struggle with anxiety and negative self-talk and doubt and all of that. And what meditation has given me, when I started way back, it was just to get my head on straight, right? Just to kind of figure out that, I'm not alone in the world, and that, the things that I'm going through are totally normal, and to kind of pull me out of that negative frame of mind. And now it's more so that I can, like Erica said, still be a good person and maintain good relationships with the people that I care about. Because it's really easy for me to, get stuck in one of those loops and get angry and get frustrated and act out. That's kind of like my MO, right? It's like, you get really angry, really frustrated, really anxious, and it all gets bottled up and thrown like a flamethrower, right? So meditation lets me to not be a flamethrower and helps me to really maintain those relationships. And just, by default, you get that back tenfold. So when you develop those relationships, and I think one of you said it, I think Olivia, you said, letting things fall by the, fall away that need to fall away. And that's just part of this, you're growing in ways that maybe you didn't expect. And sometimes it sucks and you're not going to want to do it. And sometimes it's going to be great. And it's all about what we talked about that first week, that equanimity, right? Just do it regardless of what the outcome is, because the overarching outcome is goodness. So keep doing the good things. We need it. Boy, do we need it. So yeah.
Boy, you're more advanced than me, because I still flamethrow sometimes.
Oh, I'm not saying I don't flamethrow. I most certainly do. Like Sam, sometimes I have to react.
But you're better.
Wait a minute.
You are better at keeping a lid on it than me, for sure. And what I've had to do is just get better at regrouping after the inevitable, because it's, for me, it's not going to ever happen where meditation is going to be this tool where I don't lose my shit sometimes.
Austin, you don't live with me. That's why you don't see it.
Yeah. But it does help you put things back together. There's this quote from Einstein that says the moral arc of the universe is long and it bends towards the good. So I agree with you, Kristen. So does Einstein. He can't be wrong, right? Einstein said it. Have you ever heard that quote? Anybody? Yeah? It was sewn into the floor of the Oval Office when Obama was president. Sorry, I don't mean to bring Obama up again. That's a weird random fact. I don't know why he's come up twice tonight. But the moral arc of the universe is long and it bends to the good. I like that a lot.
You can bring him up whenever you want.
Let's go into, well, I really strive to keep my teaching apolitical. I have strong political leanings, and I'm always open book to talk about them, but I never want to, in my teaching, I never want anybody to feel less than, or because, I certainly don't know everything. I know that much. But I think that there are some yoga teachers out there who are very political in their actual teaching, but I just find that there's a saying by Krishna Das. He says, when we're in the space of the heart, we're all in the same place. And I believe that. And I think that, you know, the more that we can use the practice to focus on the things that bring us together and leave the things that divide us for the rest of the world, because that's kind of how the world bloody operates anyway. Everything is kind of designed to make us be divisive in a weird way, as a consumer, as a, you know, a voter. So I just am like, to me, you know, yoga is the one space that can be safe for us to all come to a place of union, which is kind of what yoga is about, being absorbed in the heart. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight, which is the concept of samadhi. So, by the way, I really want to say, Olivia, I appreciate that you brought up the locks and keys, that's been something that's been on your mind this week. That's super cool. I think I mentioned it last week, but you know, a lot of these concepts that we throw out at you in this training program, this is it printed out, by the way. Isn't that smart looking? It's just smart looking. They're the kind of concepts that some of them, like one that we'll go into tonight, we don't introduce really until the 300 hour, until the advanced level. And that is, we're gonna go a little bit about it order, because I just want to start with this concept and then we'll kind of circle back towards it from the outside in. But it's Yoga Sutra 1.2. So context, we've been kind of looking at meditation through the 8 limbs. The 8 limbs were put together by a guy named Patanjali who wrote the Yoga Sutras. The Yoga Sutras are basically an instruction manual or a reference manual for all these different practices and techniques and teachings in a spiritual lineage of yoga. So it's not, the book is not a religious text. However, it is a sacred text because all of the practices are designed to bring you towards liberation. And the book starts with kind of the biggest concept, like most, and it's weird because even though it's the biggest concept, on its surface, it's very kind of easy to understand. But it's only when we start to really recognize the ways in which we are not that concept. Like, it's easy to understand on a theoretical level once we get there. The concept of it is one thing, but the experience of it is radical. It is absolutely, I think it's something that most people, it's the thing that if you could bottle that, lightning in a bottle, whew, you would be the richest man on the planet Earth. And the irony is that the means by which we tap into it are within. The access is right here. I'm pointing to my heart. Okay, so Yoga Sutra 1.2, he starts swinging for the fences. And he says in Sanskrit, Yogas Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Now, the very, very, very generic, most basic definition of this, the most kind of boring definition of this, which is important to start here because there's some big context to this sutra and some meaning that we're not going to be able to get into tonight around some of the more complex interpretations of this, but it essentially means yoga is the cessation or the stopping of the turnings of the mind. So let me say it again. Yoga's Chitta Vritti Nirodha. So yoga is the cessation, that is, it's the stopping of the turnings of the mind. So chitta is the mind, vritti is the turnings, and nirodha is the space that happens, that opens up this gap or liminal space or pocket, as you called it, Angie. This is nirodha. This is when, so I think I spoke about this in week 2, this idea of like, I wasn't in my 30s until the first time as an adult I experienced my mind actually stop. So you have kind of three states of mind according to yoga. You've got wakefulness, you've got dreaming, and you've got deep sleep, right? And these are represented in the Om, right? We've got wakefulness, Ah, the U, and then the that's the dream. And then there's the fourth state. Anyway, not to get too esoteric, to have an experience where the mind is perfectly still while you're awake is a very uncommon thing. So it's an easy concept to understand. The mind is quiet, the mind is still. There's this old metaphor that talks about how in yoga, we perceive things based off of our best interpretation of them, okay? So follow me here and stop me if you have questions. So there is reality, right? There's this outer reality. Each one of us has a finite ability to perceive the reality around us based off of our senses. Not just our five senses, but also the way our mind interprets the input from those senses, right? Are you with me? Okay. But would you also agree that everybody has a different ability for their senses? Just like some people can jump higher, some people have better vision. Some people have better hearing. Some people have better smelling. Some people have a better ability to assimilate a filled in picture based off of just little tiny pieces of the bigger picture, so they get a broader sense of what this reality is, right? However, yoga kind of operates under this assumption that the human vessel, the human instrument, is designed specifically to break down reality into a very interpretive translation, because we can't in real time interpret reality as it is and still be functioning outside of it, because it would just be too much. So as it is, when you're awake, your brain is computing somewhere around 2.6 million bits of information per second, right? When you're sleeping, that number goes up 10, 100-fold. It depends, but it's massive, right? What we can interpret when our brain isn't trying to make sense of things, isn't trying to analyze things, isn't trying to create a logic or a narrative or rationalize things. And we're not worried about that. The CPU opens up. The computer usage opens up, to use that language, right? Does this make sense? So the bandwidth gets bogged down by our effort to try to understand it. The more we try to understand reality, the more that our vision of it gets narrower and narrower to try to fit it into a box that we can understand. Is everybody with me? Feel free to ask questions. Okay. So what Patanjali is saying, he starts out the Yoga Sutras, the very second sloka or sutra is what yoga is when the mind stops turning. And what are these turnings? These turnings are trying to interpret what our senses are defining reality as. And so when it stops doing that, that is this state that kind of reveals itself to us. When we're in the state of yoga, this reality, Nirodha, becomes revealed to us. And this is kind of what we're talking about this week, is that, meditation is a thousands of year old practice that's been developed by people's experience and experience alone. So we don't have empirical evidence to outline the exactitude of all of the limitations and capabilities as well of what meditation is, can be, or will be, right? We are on the shoulders of these great masters who were, as I like to refer to them, Michael Jordans of the mind, right? So if you think about it, we're talking about like spending, maybe 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes twice a day meditating, and with very specific purposes for the outcome. Now, the people who put these techniques and practices into we'll call it an institution of yoga, they spent their life dedicated to this end. So we're talking meditating thousands of hours by the time they're an adult already, right? And what happens when you become more of a master of meditation rather than like, you know, a baby of meditation like I am, but it's all good still. Even when you're a baby in meditation, you still get benefits of meditation, but the benefits just change. That's all, you know? And one of the things that change about that is when you get to a place of masterfulness with meditation, you gain insight. And that's what the whole practice of this week is. That's what this has all been building up to, is the insight of meditation and trusting not only, well, let me back up one step. Being able to recognize it, job one. Being able to recognize the insight as such, because I can tell you this, it's really easy to get distracted from the thing that you need to learn most and next, okay? There is a voice inside of you that's connected to your highest self or connected to the divine, connected to the universal spark, that clear light that I was talking about earlier, however you want to picture it. But it is trying to communicate to you something right now that is absolutely pertinent, that is absolutely personal. And we don't always have the ability to communicate with that voice in a way where we hear it. Because sometimes we don't trust it, we don't recognize it. Sometimes it's led us into more work. We're like, oh, I don't want to do that. That doesn't sound like eating ice cream and enjoying my feet up at the pool, you know? So it's a hard sell. It's a hard sell to say, hey, you know, one of these highfalutin goals of yoga and meditation is to gain insight around the truths in your life. You get these little truths along the way. And I call them the golden thread. They kind of lead you on the right path until ultimately you get closer and closer and closer to more of an ultimate truth. And, you know, and it is just like the old saying, the truth will set you free. Yeah, exactly, Cheryl. The challenge is to listen to that. So we're going to use these practices that we've used over the last few weeks to kind of try to put it together and see if we can experience. So I want to say this, the 8th limb of yoga, that's what we're embarking on tonight, the idea of samadhi. So it's an interesting concept because we've moved through the 8 limbs to the end, the last limb. And where that brought us is right back to the beginning, even before the beginning of where we started. Because we kind of started right in the middle of the 8 limbs, didn't we? Started, right? Yeah. Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dhyana, Dharana, Samadhi. So we're ending the meditation training with samadhi, which is just a word that means absorption. A lot of times people say this means bliss. Well, the kind of absorption they're talking about is a blissful experience. So samadhi means, it's a conjunctive word, samadhi. Sama means the same, and di is of the highest mind. So it means that our experience, the experience that we're identifying as reality through our vessel, our filter of nerves and synapses and senses, is actually absorbed with our high mind. That mind that knows better, that leads us in all the right ways, and never lets us down even when it seems to. Right? You're like, oh, that's not the answer I wanted, but it's the answer you needed. So, and there's levels of samadhi. This is all, you know, this is all in this is what's so cool about yoga, is yoga has gone so much further than Western studies in terms of higher states of consciousness. So some of you are probably familiar with Maslow. Anybody know about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? So Maslow has a hierarchy of needs. What he's probably not as famous for Are you aware of Maslow's higher states of consciousness? Anybody who knows about it? Yeah. So he was cool because he really tried to do his best to talk about like higher states of consciousness. He had this long laundry list of virtue and all these different things. And yet what yoga has discovered, the territory of higher states of consciousness, is like the landmass of Russia compared to all that we've explored in the West, which is like Eastern Europe, you know? It's like a lot of times we have a yoga teacher who's from the Ukraine. And I was just like, oh, you're from Russia. And she's like, no, I'm from the Ukraine. Ukraine is very small. Russia is very large. This is the difference. The yoga masters understood, they explored the territory of the vastness of the upper states of consciousness, whereas in the West, we have only yet just begun. And there's a lot of reason for that, but it's interesting that we come all the way to the end of our journey only to allow it to bring us back to the very beginning of the Yoga Sutras, which is it really ends where it begins and it begins where it ends, doesn't it? And that sometimes is just simply the practice. And in Zen, there's this saying to begin again, to always allow yourself the ability to come back to the beginner's mind state. So I'm going to do a practice and then we'll wrap up tonight. So Kristen, are you ready to guide us?
I'm always ready.
All right, before we go forward, are there any questions about anything? So you see the narrative of what we created, where it's like the whole idea of the first week was to bring a sense of awakening into your life through the meditation, to awake to the things that are sleeping, so that you're not perceiving in your own reality that are trying to get your attention. And then it's to concentrate on those things. And then it's to try to hold space for both of those actions in your life so that that muscle becomes bigger. So you can wake to more things in your life and you can focus on those more important things as they reveal themselves to you in their own time. And now finally, the whole goal of this last week is to allow yourself to surrender yourself to those things. In essence, that's what these two concepts, the beginning and end, mean. The end being absorption, the beginning being stillness and silence. Well, that's kind of how we come into the world, isn't it? Kind of come in with a clean slate, and we kind of end with this state of surrender and being absorbed into the greatness beyond and whatever it is. But there's not a lot of difference between those two experiences, except for the context of where we're coming from. So, yeah, we're coming full circle.
All right. So, as usual, find your seat. So adjust yourself here so that you have as little need as possible to move your body during practice. So if that means that you need to sit in a chair or on the floor, wherever you need to be, just make sure that you allow your spine to be upright and supported without excess strain. And then as you are ready and as you've found your seat, allow your eyes to close or gaze softly at a point that's comfortable for your eyes to rest on. And take a moment here on your own to draw a few deep breaths in three-part fashion. Soften the belly forward first, then fill up the ribs, then the upper chest and collarbones. And as you exhale, release from the upper chest first, then the ribs, and then the belly. And as you do this, draw your attention to the quality of your breath and the sensations that it brings into your body. Be completely aware of your body. Start with the whole body. Perhaps creating a mental picture as you sense your whole body first. Begin to rotate your awareness through the different parts of your body. Sense the skin, the muscles, bones, joints. Notice any sensation that comes up as it ebbs and flows. And then once again, be completely aware of your body as a whole. Allow your awareness to open to sense the whole body sitting on the floor or your seat. And feel your body totally. Allow yourself to remain aware and let your body feel immobile, as if it were a statue, stone, solid, immovable, and firmly rooted. In this still body state, call to mind your sankalpa, your deepest desire, and repeat it a few times, eventually letting it dissolve into your heart as you feel the emotion behind it and rest in that awareness. And draw your awareness back to your breath. If you wish, you can draw in a gentle Ujjayi breath, but allow the breath to remain at its natural rhythm without changing it. Try not to force or control it. Be aware of the breath flowing in and out of your nostrils. When you breathe in, know that you're breathing in. And when you breathe out, know that you're breathing out. Let the breath be effortless and natural, and fix your attention on it. As your mind drifts, know that it's wandering and draw it back to your breath. Release tension and breathe. Know that your breath continues without your input. Be aware of the breath like you've never breathed before, completely in awe and in bliss at the continuous flow of the breath in and out of your body. Try to sense or feel the air entering each nostril separately. As you breathe in, the two separate flows of air travel upward towards your eyebrows and meet there. And as you breathe out, the two flows of air move down and diverge out from your eyebrows. Continue to feel the breath come together and to move apart as you inhale and exhale. Feel the air being drawn in, feel the air being gently pushed out. And for a few moments, start to invite the mantra, so hum. Mentally repeat so on the inhale, the sound of the inhale. And mentally repeat hum on the exhale, the sound of your exhale. Allow the mantra to sync up with the breath, and if your mind wanders, let it be. Know that it's wandering and draw yourself back to the mantra and the breath. So on the inhale, hum on the exhale. remembering your consciousness. I am that. And as you become settled, let go of the breath focus gently and allow yourself to sit and be for a moment. Release the technique and allow your breath to return to natural and just be. In a relaxed way, look at the space in front of your closed eyelids. Witness whatever may appear, whether it's colors, visual disturbances, patterns, or visions, or nothing. Allow whatever to be to simply be there. Witness without attaching or interpreting, without labeling as good or bad. Let go of expectations as you watch and look deeply into your mind. Let things happen as they come without anticipation or expectation. The less you expect, the more you might see. Keeping that focus, begin to draw your eyes up to the third eye above your eyebrows in Shambhavi Mudra. Remember, if this causes any kind of eye strain or headaches, let it go. But see if you can visualize the space above the eyebrows and see an indigo blue chakra. As you focus your attention on the third eye, see the chakra spinning and gaining strength. And that indigo glow of the chakra illuminates your mind and then the rest of your body. And as your breath deepens and lengthens naturally, notice the strength of the chakra growing until the sphere of blue grows to wash over you, pervade every pore, every cell in your body. Breathe deeply and feel the energy bursting forth from your third eye as rays of dazzling deep blue light. And rest in this awareness. And then once again, become aware of the space in front of your closed eyes. Watch and witness what might arise, and simply be. And then once again, before closing the meditation, call to mind your sankalpa. Repeat it mentally a few times, feeling the emotion behind it. As you repeat it, feel it fully. Feeling the words resonate and vibrate throughout your cells. And once again, Allow it to dissolve into your heart. And draw yourself back into your body. Feel your body as a whole. Notice sensations, sounds, the light and the shade. Feel the weight of your body supported below. And draw a deep cleansing breath into the body. And as you exhale, release tension in your mind and your body. And do that 2 more times at your pace. And as you feel ready, bow your chin down and let your eyes open. Maybe rolling your head side to side. Some seated cat and cow might help wake up your spine a little bit. And now you all look so lovely. Tell me how you feel. You can feel free to unmute yourselves.
Feel very grounded and relaxed at the same time as not connected to the earth, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah.
Like what you were saying with the marble analogy, I really liked that. I struggle, like Kelly, with like the fidgety stuff. And that was probably one of the more successful meditations that I've had, to just be able to sit still. And then that marble, kind of like imagining that in my body, was really effective. And just noticing how finite the breath is and how delicate it can be. Yeah, I just noticed that. I don't know. It's cool.
Nice.
That was definitely
Not like a marble.
There was a marble.
Yeah, I don't remember it either. I had an insight, and it was something that I already knew cognitively, but it was like, it just felt right, like everything was just like, oh yeah. So that was cool.
Good. Awesome.
I'm like Olivia, and that was definitely the best or the most successful one I've had so far. Like I felt like I forgot where I was, and yeah, I think I let go at the beginning of like having the perfect posture and the perfect breath and everything. I just kind of did what felt comfortable, and that helped a lot. So
Good. Awesome. I'm so glad you had that.
And I definitely don't mean this as a negative at all, but see, my experience of those types of meditations are very difficult. As soon as we start imagining balls of color and light, it doesn't work for me. It's worked for me very rarely, I should say. But I love always knowing, and that's why this is always so beautiful, because there's so many different things. Like what works for one person doesn't work for another. And so I just think it's always just cool to know that, like what works for you to help you be able to sit longer.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Kristen. Yeah, I really like the part with the butterfly and the rainbow tower. Did you? Oh, okay.
Did you go somewhere?
I was like, wow, I totally didn't get this one then.
No, there was no butterfly.
No.
But that's why I like Sting's comment there. There was a marble? Katie's like, huh? Speaking my life. Okay, well, here's what I'd love to do is, okay, so to wrap this up tonight, we're going to do the word. And I think, there's two things that I'd love for you to email. So I'm going to give you homework to finish this off. And I'm going to put Kristen and my email in here. So if you wouldn't mind just putting your biggest takeaway from this, and two, how we could continue this. And specifically, does that look like a once a month thing? Is that like somebody in the group leads a check-in and a meditation? Because you could always just queue up one of the recordings and listen to it, or it could be a silent meditation. Everybody practice on their own. If you could, Kristen, I didn't put your email in there right. If you, how do Mondays work? That was another question I had. Did the pre-existing meditation class on Monday need to shift time, or does that work for some of you? So if you would just kind of give us that feedback, and you could always put an optional third bit of information of what would have made this better for you. But let me just take a quick poll. Was everybody glad that they did this? Was this worth your time for the last 4 weeks? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that looks unanimous fairly well. So we'll do the word because we are there. But all that information is in the chat right there. So make sure that you take that. Kristen, do you have anything else before we do the word here?
No, just thank you all so much for the work that you put into it. It's just always so, just humbling and inspiring. So thank you.
Absolutely. It has been just a treat. Pleasure and honor to be here with you all alongside you in this journey. And though though we were guiding it, we definitely felt like we were in it the whole time with you. And thank you for making that possible for us too. It definitely felt like y'all invited us to take this journey with you in such a sincere and earnest way. So that means a lot to us. So we'll do the word, and then we'll do a quick little traditional closing dedication. Okay, so I'm just going to call off names. Sam Stang, your word.
Butterfly transformation.
Jen Carlson.
Tranquility.
Sarah?
I'm feeling grateful.
Olivia?
Yeah.
Say it one more time.
Optimistic.
Ah, great. Thank you. Peggy?
Grateful.
Angie?
Quietude.
Ooh, good word. Kelly?
Peace.
Katie?
Open.
Jen Barks?
Fuzzy.
Erica?
Rejoice.
Huh?
Rejoice.
Rejoice. Great. Samantha Gullah?
Grateful.
Cheryl?
Balanced.
Kristen?
Marble.
All right, if you put your hands together, close your eyes, connect to your heart, repeat after me. May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness.
May all beings.
May all beings have happiness and the causes of happiness.
Yes. May all beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering.
May all
May
beings be
all
free.
beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering.
May all beings never be parted from freedom's true joy. May all beings never be parted
from freedom's
true joy.
true joy.
May all beings dwell in equanimity, free from attachment and aversion.
May all beings dwell in
Well, remedy.
Free from attachment aversion. Yes. Okay. And that is all, friends. May you be well. May you continue practice. And please take some thoughtful time, maybe some 5-10 minutes to get that information to us as soon as possible so that we can continue to serve you best. And yeah, it's been a treat. Thank you, Kristen. You're wonderful. I adore getting to work with you. And like I said, I learned so much from everybody else here tonight. Over these last 4 weeks, it's been a joy. That's my word. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Austin and Kristen.
Thank you both.